Welcome to Porch Play Chat, sponsored by the American Association for Promoting the Child's Right to Play, or our little shortened title, IPA USA. IPA USA is the USA affiliate of the International Play Association. You can find more about IPA World by going to ipaworld.org. As part of our efforts to promote play, we've introduced these Porch Play Chats, which are just conversations with people who are just as passionate about play as we are. You can go to our website at ipausa.org. Up in the top right-hand corner are the links to our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube channel. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, if you become a friend on Facebook, and I don't know what you do on Instagram, but whatever you do on Instagram, because I don't know, magically, every Monday, a new Porch Play Chat will appear in your feed. And so I hope you'll go to the website and think about joining us. We do lots of wonderful things that promote play. So I'm Deb Lawrence, and I'm the president of IPA USA. And with me on the porch is Dr. Rachel Larimore. Dr. Larimore, hello, is an educator, consultant, speaker, researcher, and author. Her work focuses, and this is one of my favorites, as you well know, on the intentional integration of nature to support young children's holistic development by learning with nature to expand their worlds and live rich, full lives. She's written 3 books, including Establishing a Nature-Based Preschool. So if you're interested, you should go get it, as well as Blending Early Childhood Education and Nature-Based Learning. Can't wait. She is the founder and chief visionary of Samara Early Learning, an organization focused on helping early childhood educators start nature-based schools or add nature-based approaches. And there's so many. I think people think they have to be outside all day, every day, regardless of the weather, when, that's the best, but not always the only, right?
Correct.
And so Rachel's going to talk to us about supporting children to play with nature. And I love it, because I think one of the things that we struggle with in early childhood classrooms are all the cookie cutter approaches, right? We have to have, it's like when I walk into early care and education programs, and when I was director, we had to fight against this all the time. Every classroom had the exact same materials.
Right.
And most of them were plastic.
Right. Yep.
Or bought. And because that's what we were given, right?
Yes.
Here's your catalog. Go in there, pick out what you want. And teachers really, probably based on their own childhood experiences and memories, said, oh, I remember playing with this and I really liked it. So, breaking that mold of recognizing that there's much more than plastic out there. How do we do that? And how do we bring that nature both into a typical classroom, as well as getting over our fears of the outdoor classroom?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think you hinted there at the idea of a continuum, first of all. And I think wherever someone is, whoever's watching this, right? Just my message to you, wherever you are right now, is perfectly okay. Like, this isn't about judging where you are on the continuum, because the nature-based approach, it's a journey, and it's going to, unfold in different ways. So a lot of people, like you say, start with nature inside because that's where we're comfortable, typically. Maybe that's where there's some money to get something in a catalog. I think the thing, first of all, it's a great place to start. Are we being intentional in what materials we're providing? Do they reflect, or first of all, are they real nature versus plastic, as you commented on? I was at NACE 2 weeks ago at the exhibit hall. And it's amazing the things that are plastic replicas of nature, right? And it's like, no, don't do that. Please don't spend your money on that, right? But so real nature in the classroom, but also that reflects the local place,
Mhm.
So your comment about, purchasing things, then every classroom looks the same.
Mhm.
And really, every classroom should look like where that classroom is in the world. It should represent the culture of that community. It should also represent the ecosystems, which is a real driver primarily of culture, right? So those two things go hand in hand. So does it look like where they are in the world? And then further along the continuum, okay, we've got nature inside that's local and real, but let's go outside and be intentional about that. And we saw this a lot during COVID where the answer was we'll take what we do inside and go outside with it.
Yes.
And that's a great place to start. Again, this is a journey, right? But then getting to where we're actually have children are interacting with and learning from the outdoors, right? From nature and what I call with nature, where there's an experience that makes them curious. Then hopefully as adults, we're extending and allowing that play to flourish, right? With lots of time, but also what other materials might we add to this space to help them explore? Or when we do have teacher-led activities, are those based in what children have been excited about outside, right? Maybe outdoors there's a log and they've been rolling it over and finding all sorts of worms and insects under there. So how do we build on that, right? Build on what they're curious about.
Mhm.
And then the last step on the continuum of that I think of in terms of nature-based education is not only having outdoor nature-based experiences in the outdoor play area. Hopefully that also means a more natural playground versus
Yes.
or a mix even, but versus
Mhm.
the sort of traditional climber, right? But leaving the fence and going outside, what we call beyond the fence. That was a phrase coined by Claire Warden out of Scotland, is just simply the beyond.
Mhm.
And in urban areas, that might be finding nature in planters and courtyards near the school. It might be going to a park. In more rural areas, it might be going into the woods that there aren't a bunch of people in, right? So I also don't want people to be limited in what counts as nature.
Right.
Sometimes we find that. So that's generally sort of this journey that I see unfold and going from starting with some things that look like nature and maybe aren't even real, right?
Mhm.
To really moving eventually to where nature is core to the learning and teaching that's happening in the classroom. All play based, of course, child led,
Okay. Mhm.
and really also thinking about another sort of core principle are those things of play-based, child-led. What I think of as like the influence of early childhood education, the discipline of early childhood. But we also in nature-based education have the influence of environmental education and goals of sustainability and long-term care and connection to the world around them.
Mhm.
And so that means being place-based. Like I started with, does it look like where you are in the world? Here, I'm in Michigan right now. Does it look like Michigan? Does it look like the ocean? We don't have dolphins here. So like I'm not,
Right.
you know,
Why would I bring those in?
yeah, like I mean, it might be a comparison, right? Children are interested in mammals and fish in other ways, and then it's, but it's not the primary thing that we're talking about. Um, so it's place-based. But the other thing is disrupting this, what I call the human nature divide, that we as humans like to think that we are on top of the food chain. We are in charge of everything that happens on the planet.
Mhm.
And the fact is, we're part of a system, right?
Right.
We influence it, but it influences us as well. And so, outdoor experiences for children that happen in all weather, and in different seasons, and starts to build a relationship where children see the impact of the world, the natural world, on them, but also vice versa. So seeing those seasonal changes in the play areas, and being part of the system. I mean, really for me, it's joy, wonder, awe. Like we talk about those ideas, nature provides those with us. I mean, we don't have to do much else than take them there, take the children there and let them explore. And nature
Well,
provides that.
and I think I always am struggling with why are we stuck, right?
Mm,
Is it because that's what we experienced, and so that's what's normal for us? Is it is it because play is disappearing? I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I'll tell you, I played for 9.5 hours a day outside.
That's exactly
And
right.
mom put my lunch on the porch step, and that's where I ate it, outside, right? And so I'm wondering if that's what we're fighting against. And the other thing I think we're fighting against is that can't possibly be educational, right? We
Right.
have to get these kids, ready,
Mm.
right? And I wish, I hate that ready word. You need to work with the kids you've got,
Right.
and not and
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 I think
support
if you
them.
have a child in front of you, they're ready.
They're
That's all that
ready.
matters, right? Like that. Yes,
If they're curious, they're ready. If they want to
exactly.
be, if they want to discover something, they're ready.
Exactly.
So, I think, and then I think there's the fear, oh, they may get hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, it may not be safe, because we've really gone off the deep end about being safe, right? We want every child to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like the pendulum has, swung over here
That's
versus over
exactly
here.
right.
So I want us to challenge ourselves to think about exploring and not spending so much time inside, and maybe not just an hour on the playground morning and afternoon.
Which an hour is a lot for a lot
I,
of programs.
oh, it
I mean,
is.
I'm,
That,
that's
that's
an
a
hour
lot.
is great. It should be
I know.
longer, but yeah.
We'll take an hour, but what I'd
Yes.
like you to do, and that should be the minimum, morning and afternoon. But what I'd like you to do is think about, what can we do for an hour and a half where children are just discovering?
Right.
Where can we go? Could we go on the other side of the fence? What could we do? And if not, what as an educator can I do on the playground that
Right.
will provide these large blocks of time for children to be engaged in what they're interested in?
Mhm.
So, whew, those are all things I think we need to be thinking about.
Yeah, and they're big things. I mean, I think back to your point about, I think the fear, I think that sort of underlies all of the problems. Like, yeah, that's why they're not playing as much. That's why we're kind of worried, hyper worried about safety. And we tend to mostly talk about that in terms of physical safety. We
Mhm.
don't seem to be as hyper aware of the fact that they aren't having play-based childhoods with joy, and like that's as much to me, and actually maybe more harmful than
Yes,
some of the physical risk that could happen. Like, yeah, you could scrape your knee will heal up, and then you have a badge of honor. Also, you get to wear your,
right.
cool Band-Aid.
You get to pick out your Band-Aid. You get to say,
Exactly.
oh, it hurts, even though when there's nothing there left, and get another Band-Aid.
Yeah. But I think also that fear is some of what I see in terms of interactions outside, and just what you're talking about of how do we engage with children to really explore outdoors. And sometimes I see that as a challenge for educators, because it means not knowing exactly what's going to happen next, right?
Yeah.
Letting go of the plan. And so there is a little fear there of, I don't know what they're going to find. I don't know what kinds of questions they're going to ask. And the beautiful thing is that positions the teachers as almost co-learners next to the children, right? We're learning
Right.
together.
Yeah. You don't
Um,
need to know all the answers to the questions, but you can say,
exactly.
let's go figure that out.
That's exactly right. And in a way, I find, so I have this, my background was environmental education. I grew up on a farm, but I had a family full of biologists, and our family just is over the top about quizzing each other on names of things and knowing all the facts of things, right? And I, as a teacher, have to be really careful to keep that to myself, because there's a
Yes.
temptation that I want to tell children, oh, let me tell you what it is, or let me fix this idea that you have that's actually wrong. And so in a way, not knowing everything or not knowing much is actually an asset. So
Mhm.
I also encourage teachers to remember that, like, it's great you don't know, actually, in a way, because now you can say, I don't know, what do we notice about, like a child sees a bird, and what is it? I don't know, but what do you notice? Like, how big is it? Where can we find out that information, right? What colors are we seeing? What shape is it? Where if I know the answer, there's this temptation to just say it,
Oh yeah, just
you
here,
know?
let me help you learn this
Yeah,
instead of let's discover it together. Yeah.
right.
And again, I think that goes back to what we feel like, the pressure, right? We feel like we have to educate them
Mhm.
instead of just allowing them to get those dispositions of learning, that curiosity and discovery and exploration and repetition. We feel like, oh no, we've spent enough time doing that. Now we're going to learn something instead of recognizing that that is
Yeah.
how
And we
they're making those learning connections.
I think it goes back to sort of the bigger system that we operate within, well, within education, but then of course there's within capitalism, right? And this like
Oh yeah.
we need to know these outcomes in terms of skills, isolated skills of, reading and writing and math. And yes, those things are important. But those approaches to learning that you just talked about, curiosity and wonder and
Exploration and
compassion for each other.
discovery. Yes,
Yeah,
excitement, joy. Oh my goodness.
right. And to me, that's way more important. And I've been frustrated lately, as I'm sure you probably have, by the talk of sort of post-pandemic, all these
Oh yeah.
children are behind.
Yeah, we need to
Well,
catch them up. Yep.
yeah, catch them up to like standards that a group of people sat in a room and wrote. And like, I mean, it's just the social piece. Yeah, they did lose interaction with each other. Some lost true opportunities for play. And, I mean, there are impacts, absolutely, or were impacts and still are. Um, but we just keep coming back to these things. It's like, is that what matters? Are we measuring and focusing on what really matters for children? And I mean, I know we agree on this. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
play, interacting with each other, interacting with adults, figuring out who they are and what they like, and just and having adults support that. Their
Yeah.
right to explore what they're curious about, and spend more time on that.
And if we can, so if we can shift, so let's give them some baby steps. So we talked about bring nature into the classroom, real nature, not,
Yeah.
you know, real
Yep.
nature into the classroom. And then after your hour, morning and afternoon, think about what you could do in this community that you live in and where your program is. And if it's in an urban area, what's around you that you could go down the sidewalks and explore? What is there a park that you could walk to nearby? And then use those opportunities. And you don't have to do it every day. I mean, an hour in the morning, hour in the afternoon, every day.
Right.
But
At
but
least, yes.
yes, every day. But maybe once or twice a week, it's maybe step your way right
Yes.
into let's explore the community around us. I mean, that is social studies.
Oh, yeah,
It,
exactly.
it's physical when you're walking.
Mhm.
It's social when they're having conversations about what they're finding. They're building vocabulary because they're finding things they didn't know what was there, and they have to figure out what it is and what the word is. It's
Yeah,
cognitive because they're problem solving using critical thinking. There is so much happening.
so much. And awareness, I mean, in fact, I was thinking about this the other day. I have this great new app for meditation. I love it.
Oh,
But it
yeah,
has a commuting meditation, which I know at first you're like, I don't know how this is going to work,
yeah.
but was guiding you like, what are you noticing, and name it. And I was thinking about that. That's what we do when we leave the fence, and
Mhm.
children are seeing we don't know what we're going to find in an outdoor play space. You pretty much know what's going to be there. There might be some things different, hopefully, right? The weather and animals and plants. But when we leave the fence, it's like even just this awareness of the world around us and what are we seeing and observing. And that comes back to mindfulness and social emotional self-regulation. All of those things are all tied together. So yeah, I think your point's an important one.
Well, and we know that when children are out in nature, I don't know about you, but I love to see nature, right? And the best vacation for me is to go to an ocean, sit on the beach and listen, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That it is immediate. I'm there for 5 minutes and my whole body goes, woo, because
Yeah.
that water does that to me. But in other, and that's because I grew up by the beach. And so that was my experience.
Yeah.
Other people just listening to the wind whistle through the trees can have that same calming effect on you. And so if we have children who where, hurry, we have to hurry, we have to do this and this and this. And we wonder why they're kind of going bing bong all the time.
Yeah.
If we could just get them out and give them that sense of peace in a beautiful environment
Exactly.
where they can be more in tune with nature. And not only is that helping us ecologically, right? It's helping us within the environment, and we're helping us become aware of the beauty of the environment around us, and we need to take care of it. But the additional benefits in helping them regulate,
Absolutely.
oh,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
truly
Because,
amazing.
yeah. And the research just keeps mounting. I mean,
Oh
it
yeah.
is amazing, the benefits of nature on our health. And it goes back to the idea I talked about of us not being separate. The fact is, we need nature to survive. So we've seen this growth in or surge in nearsightedness among children.
Oh yeah.
We need natural UV light for our eye development. We need vitamin D to produce melatonin to be able to sleep, right? Like we need it.
It's a system, right?
Yeah,
We're on this planet, and this planet and we need each other.
exactly. So one thing, so I was thinking about, you were talking about this sort of continuum um and where to start. I mean, I think even just you're talking about your 1 hours a day outside. One way I see programs start is move that to the beginning of the day.
Oh
And you
gosh.
talked about this attention. We know actually that children who play outside have fewer symptoms of ADHD after having time in green space. So if we're seeing all this energy, we start with a group meeting on the carpet, crisscross applesauce, and everyone's moving in different ways, which is a whole nother thing. Like, it's okay. Let them move in
Yeah,
different ways.
let them move. They
Let
don't
them
even have
move.
to come,
Yeah,
right? They shouldn't even have to come. They're still
exactly.
hearing you if
That's
when they're in
exactly right.
flock. They're still hearing you. So
Exactly. So, but we start with that, and then we wonder why children don't want to attend to the task we've asked them to attend to. Well, maybe let's start by having that free play outside first thing. Do that in the beginning of the day. And
mhm,
then often the pushback I get on that is, well, but we offer snack, we offer breakfast in the, yeah, great. Offer that outside, right?
uh-huh. Why
Most days
not?
that can be outside. There may be times where it's trickier in winter and mittens and, depending on what you're having for food, but try that. And then on those really glorious days where it's just sort of perfect weather, I know we're not, like, I try not to judge weather. There's like easier weather and harder weather, right?
Right, right.
On those easy weather days, like, maybe stay outside all day, maybe
Mhm.
bring the interest areas outside, maybe have your large group meeting outside on the play area. Like, so start there. Well, the first thing I would actually start with is just go from an hour to an hour and 10, an hour and 15. And often the barrier there is, well, maybe they're getting bored, right? I hear people say that, well, but that's too long, the kids are bored.
That's
Then
because the teachers are bored.
exactly, the teachers are bored, or the environment doesn't have enough resources for children to play with. There aren't enough loose parts and materials for them to create with, right? Because there are some playgrounds that it's pretty hard to be inventive and imaginative when
Right.
they're, you know.
Yeah, so
So
it's
that
not the
gives you
children.
space.
Look at the environment, right? So
Exactly.
look at the environment. What can I bring in? What can I do?
That's
Yeah.
exactly right. And then
And
just
so,
slowly start adding. And then a rainy day, like, oh, yeah, it's raining, but we're still going to go outside.
mhm,
We have our rain gear, we're dressed for that. And then maybe we build up to where, oh, oh, this actually is great. And the pushback I also get on clothing is, but our families don't have clothing. And this is where I say, if it matters, if we truly believe that time outdoors matters for children's development, then it's on us to make sure they have the materials to be successful for that experience. Just like we would provide paint and markers and writing utensils for emergent writing, right? Like it's the same idea. Then we're going to set them up for success with gear if we need to, as a, you know, we have a class set.
Right. Yes, it's a support system.
Exactly.
And I want us to, I always try to get people to recognize that you can redirect funding.
Mhm.
If you're not buying all the plastic stuff from the catalogs,
Yeah.
then you're saving money on materials. And so then you can get that outdoor gear that children need. And you can go to Goodwill or to Salvation Army or to a thrift store
Right.
and find tons of it in many different sizes that are at a very low cost. And you're also doing a social good, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, so if you can think about, all right, so we're not spending, you know, $1,500 in this classroom on the plastic. And instead, where children are going out and we're collecting rocks and we're collecting sticks and we're collecting branches and we're going to use the branches to paint with, and we're going to use the rocks to do math with if you need to, with manipulatives. I mean, all of that really gives you some money to redirect, hopefully to salaries as well as to
Yes,
other
exactly.
supports that children need. So this has been wonderful, and I'm going to close this out, but don't go anywhere because I have 3 things to ask you. But Rachel, this is a good baby step. So I think in the next Porch Play Chat, we should do the next baby step. So
I love it.
we've given them tons of ideas. Where do we go from here? So stay right there while I close this out.
Okay.
So to learn more about IPA USA, please visit our website at ipausa.org. And until next time, keep on playing.